getting up to speed on something that Chip brought to my attention. And it was kind of fun doing a little bit of research and playing around with this because I think we focus so much on the busyness of our life and forget to reevaluate the systems we have. What made you bring this title up, Chip?
I think one thing that really made me throw it out there is, you look at, in our lives, both of us are crazy busy. But in especially, with the times that we're in now, we've been able to, make time to hang out with each other and learn and grow together. And so it came to me that in order to be able to balance all of the things that we balance, but still be great at it, you have to have some things in place, structure, systems, order in place in order to make sure, like you said, to have that quality.
And sometimes you forget that you already have some of those systems in place.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking to myself, like my phone, how many times do I blow off doing the update? And in my own life, when I look at some of the systems, I got to remember that they can't be static, right? Like they have to constantly be in motion, and you got to reevaluate them. So just like my phone, when I click update, it brings me up to date. I think we have to revisit our systems to make sure that they're up to date, that they still fit our goals in what we're doing. I mean,
oh yeah,
for you.
Yeah, that's constant. I mean, that's the constant thing. I think, first off, I think the systems, help us be the best versions of ourselves. And like all of my systems are tied to success, progress, growth, making an impact, and so I'll give you an example, like just like you said, like the update. So in different phases, years, seasons of our life requires different seasons, and I'm a big, self-talk, positive talk guy. And so like, right now I'm at go get it 4.2. Right.
Yeah.
And that's my college number 42. But I'm at go get it 4.2. But in high school, the self-talk was, hey, up your game. Up your game, get better. When I got to college, it was a lot of competition. Keep pushing. When I was young in my career, I'm in the pot to where I'm trying to figure things out. It was, hey, let's try to make it. Just make it. Let's go. Just keep pushing. Just keep trying to make it. And currently, for the last few years, of course, it's been go get it. And, go get it. Like I said, it's changed. I'm currently in go get it 4.2, because it's changed over the years. So, yes, I agree. We have to update.
And for me, when I look at the systems that I do have in place, I think that rhythm and that routine, it brings me a sense of control. So when I know exactly what's happening, when you've got a morning routine and you've got an evening routine and you've got that agenda for the day, like everything, at least you feel like it's not in a chaos mode. So by pre-planning, by knowing what my destiny is going to be in that given day, I can actually become more productive, more efficient, which means I'm giving more of myself to others. And
without a doubt.
That's the point, right?
Yeah. I think like it allows you to not be stressed. I think like anything, anytime, and you're a speaker, you do things, you've prepared for big events, you've done some amazing things, and those times that, and of course, you're gonna have the typical, game on adrenaline. Mm-hmm. But there's a difference between game on adrenaline and the nervousness of not feeling prepared.
Right.
I mean, there's a difference between those two. And the difference between the two is if you feel you haven't put the work in and you're going to do something, that's not a genuine feel for you. So it's not going to feel right. And so when you know that you've put the work in to move efficient and do things the right way, you go in with a sense of confidence, and it comes across that way as well too.
So, give me an example of one of the most important systems that you've established in your routine. And I know it's crazy because you almost want to ask that question pre-COVID and post-COVID, but it's like you had to change your routine right off the bat, a month ago.
Well, what's funny is my goal is to always have consistency. And so, like, to me, despite any of the whatever changes around me, like, to me, I'm going to be consistent, right? So, for a long time, I'm not there now, but a long time when we were off, I still kept the same schedule as far as when I wake up,
right,
go to sleep, those things. I'm a little off now, but for the first 3 weeks, month or so, like, it was all the same, and so now, I'm just making some adjustments. But really, I think for me, when you look at some tangible things that I try to think first, I look at it as telescope, microscope, and granular, if you will, right?
Yeah.
And so when you're looking at the telescope, the big picture, I think every day I strive to work on the spiritual, mental, and physical. And those are the three things that I feel that if I get better in each of those areas each day, that I can continue to have growth in my life, right? The second part, as far as the microscope is concerned, when you're looking through, I have this deal that I call a balanced pie. And so I've broken it down to 10 different avenues in my life that I have prioritized, that are important to me. And so, again, I feel like, I have to give 100% in each of those areas every day. And then the granular, like the what's really going to help me achieve all those things is a SHG principle. And so in everything and all of those 10 things and all of the spiritual, mental, and physical, I have to first show up. I have to be present. If I say that this is important to me, then I have to make sure that I put effort towards those things. I have to make sure that I have a great attitude, is the H, and then last, that G is I have to give my all to all of those things. And I know you asked me one thing, but, to me, it all kind of ties together. And really, that is, I think it drives my focus, if you will.
Yeah, because I think you're almost approaching things with a strainer. I mean, you're coming into that day and you're just in that mindset.
Yep.
And when you get to that granular level, you can reflect and see what you've accomplished, what needs more attention, what you may not have given enough attention to.
Right.
So maybe I can cheat. I know I can cheat because I saw it on LinkedIn today. So people are going to be able to learn more about your balanced pie, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. I mean,
you got a new book coming out. It's out. You got a
Yeah.
new book out. Why don't you talk about that?
Yeah. Well,
They'll learn about balanced pie right there.
Right. And so I have a book that's coming out really soon. The pre-order, you can pre-order it now, but it's called the the Formula Chart for Life. And really, when we look at systems, systems are formulas.
Yeah.
Formulas are systems. And so I think, growing up, I struggled with math. I had an opportunity to co-teach chemistry a few years back for a couple of years. And so with those two experiences, I saw that, formulas, if you just plug in the numbers, you get the answer. It's not a lot of work that you have to do to it. You just plug the stuff in. And so I was thinking, man, in our life, there's some things in life that if we just plug the stuff in, we'll be okay. Right. And so that's how, I started jotting down notes, and that's how I created it. And basically it's just compiled with formulas that will help people through any situations, various different situations, work through life.
And, when I've cheated, obviously I saw the pie. And let me ask you this question. We talked about, seasonal, we change it, or situational reasons, we change it. does your pie always stay the same? Do you try
Yeah.
to make sure those priorities will always be what they are?
Yeah, for the most part, it is for me like that. Like I was saying, regardless of the things that go on, I'm gonna be consistent about those things. You know what I explained to you: spiritual, mental, physical,
Right.
pi, SHG. To me, it don't matter what's going on. I'm gonna do those. You know, and so I think, you know, like that doesn't change in my life.
You know, one of the things that I've adapted, I want to say it's been maybe 2 or 3 years, is I learned this from somebody I worked with, but I actually create micro tasks, and I do them on a daily basis. And I've
Yeah,
got, I want to say five, maybe five a day.
yeah,
And by creating those micro tasks, they're not difficult. They may be time consuming,
right.
but it's having the opportunity to achieve it
Yeah,
and get through that list, because science will tell you when you achieve something and you're able to cross something off the list, believe it or not, it releases that dopamine. You got that down?
that's my list today.
See, and it's crazy to me because like science backs it up. When
Yeah,
you achieve something, and that's why that general speaking at UT and his like the most simple message, make your bed, right?
yeah,
Start the day off with something successful, something you've accomplished. And isn't that crazy? Make your bed. But he was spot on. And with those micro lists, for me, it might be read 3 blogs today, listen
yeah,
to a John Maxwell lesson. Every day I try to write a couple of thank you notes just to show gratitude. Do I know who it's going to be to? No, it's just when I sit down, it's already stamped. It's right in front of me. Who is it going to be? Address it, write it. 10 minutes, right? But that's my gratitude. That makes me feel good. I put that in the mailbox the old fashioned way. But
yeah.
those micro lists are a system to provide me that spark I need to go bust that day, right?
Man, I
And that's the
love that.
key.
I
Yeah, that's
love
the
that.
key.
Yeah, I love that. It made me think of uh, the concept of less is more. You know, less equals more. Oh wait,
Mhm.
that's in the formula chart too.
Yeah,
Oh,
you're going to give away the book.
oh, oh. That- but but less is more. I mean, I think the more that we can find systems, like you said, micro, wins. Just the small things, and if we focus in on doing the small things the right way, well, the big things are gonna take care of themselves. They're organically gonna happen. I think when you do that too, when we have those systems in place, it's crazy how we organically eliminate distractions.
Mhm.
You're so focused in on doing the tasks, making sure you mark those things off, focusing on where you have no time to focus on that other stuff that don't mean anything, because what's important, like you're locked in.
Yeah. And that's the thing, is when you're committed. And another like life hack somebody taught me was, I literally put this
Yeah,
thing next to me, and I know exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to set it for 50 minutes, and I hit it, and I do not do anything else, because we both know multitasking does not work. You
yeah,
cannot multitask. And everyone says, no, I'll prove you wrong. I can do it. It's how I live life. Well, something is neglecting attention. So I know, and when I first started this, it was such a hard habit because I kept looking at the time. And
hmm,
you learn, don't look at the time, like just get in a zone. And that thing has assisted me because I can apply my focus and my attention to the task at hand. Or if I spend 50 minutes returning phone calls, it's the task at hand. But my excuse and the reason I got this was I would always tell people my day just gets away from me. And they're like,
hmm.
how? Like, you control your day.
Yeah,
Sometimes I don't feel like it, but
yeah,
what are the tools, i.e., systems,
yeah,
to help control the day? I know you're so disciplined on when you do your interviews. Like, you have a day
yeah,
and you fly through, and
yeah.
you've always done it that way, haven't you?
Yes, yes. Unless it's somebody big like a Victor Pisano, and they say I can't, and they say, "Hey Chip, man, I can't make it on those days," and I'll be like, "Hey, whatever time you need, buddy." Okay.
When his
No.
agent Victor
Yeah,
calls.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, your people, when your people say that.
exactly.
Yeah.
My people. And you know what else was interesting is I don't know if you ever did you study Six Sigma at any
Oh, I
point?
did. I did.
So one of the first companies I worked for, they had a leadership model based off Six Sigma, and it was some difficult training,
Mm-hmm.
but it was based off the Chinese philosophy of how to run a business, and they had a word for it, and it was Kaizen. And Kaizen is no different than what we're talking about, but it is a focus on the procedure, a focus on the system, with attention to continually improving that system. So Kaizen was something that go to Toyota, and when before they were in the United States, you think it's simple because it's just a production line, but it's not simple because it's a system and it has to be calibrated to the second. So what they would do is get the employees involved instead of making upper management decisions, and they would say, how can we improve it? How can we improve it? And it was the right thing to do because they asked the person putting a nut on a screw or the person who had to paint something, where can we be more efficient? Is it coming too fast? Is it coming too slow? And it's almost like believe in the system, but don't ever think that it can't be improved.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that, I mean, we can apply that to everything we do in life. I think when I heard you say that, it made me think of faith. You
Mm-hmm.
know, um, growing up, I was raised in a faith-based, household with a faith-based family. But as I went out on my own, I had to have my own firsthand experience and find out faith on my own. Yeah, I knew those principles that I was taught and all of the other stuff, but I had to add that with my own personal experiences. And now I have my vision of what faith is as well. And so I think, I use that analogy because that can be applied to whatever it is you're attacking in your life. Take in the knowledge, take in the information, use your experiences to learn some things, but then also, um, you have to continue to have that growth and continue to do your research and sift through and find the good stuff, keep the good stuff that you're going to use that'll help you.
So, do you have separate systems for each of those priorities?
No,
They all operate under that one.
yeah, I'm a simple guy, and everything I told you about the SMP,
Mm-hmm.
balance pi, SHG, I mean, that's me. I mean, that encompasses everything in my life that's important to me. And other than that, like, I don't waste time on anything else, right? Like, and I'm serious about that. Like, I don't play around with, like, my time is valuable. And I think one thing that, and I guess it just really came aware to me the last few years that I'm a maximizer. Like, I maximize time. I take advantage of every opportunity that I can have, because I don't want, at the end of the day, like, it's unacceptable for me to not be the best version of myself for the people that I love. Like, that's unacceptable, right? And so I push myself. Nobody's gonna push me and put more pressure on me than me to be the best version of myself. And I embrace that. Like, I enjoy that. Man, what you gonna do today? Like, what you did this. Okay, you put out a book. Okay, how you gonna make it better? How many people you gonna impact? So it's just a constant, system of pushing yourself. And you have to have that conversation with yourself too, you know.
Self-awareness.
Yeah, yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. So everything that, for me, as far as my systems and how I operate, it falls under those three things that I gave you.
And so it's funny because so this is where you and I differ is I do have systems for each area. And
Yeah.
I think I do it uh, because sometimes I don't want them to mix. I don't want the systems I have for work to mix with the systems I have for family.
Right.
Knowing that I have a career and I have charge up, I got to
Right.
make sure those systems don't intertwine. And I think listening to you, it's probably a little more complicated to manage because I have to change my mind. It's okay, where am I? So part
Right.
of my overall system is it's based off times. Like I know when I walk in here, if it's 6 to 8:30, like that's charge up time. I'm writing, I'm reading, I'm doing the podcast videos. But
Yeah.
then I know at 8 a.m. it stops, and I've got to go complete focus into my career where I
Mm.
couldn't be able to do what I do from 6 to 8:30. So that's kind of how I separate them. My systems are time based. I know when it's time to flip the page to the other, but
Um,
when I
I,
think of, go ahead.
I think it's a little similar, but like I said, it's also different. But like for me, as far as like when you look at like the SHG principle, we'll look at the things that are important. Just like you said, my family time is important to me.
Yeah.
So at that time, I'm gonna show up, have a great attitude, and give my all. Just like you said, you blocked off chunks of those times. So like to me, I do the same thing. Like I have interview days, Tuesday evenings, Saturday mornings. I block off those times. It's non-negotiable at these times. I'm not gonna, not take away from my family. That's a non-negotiable. And so I do that as well. But I think when I look at it as more general. But in all of those areas, I make a conscious effort. And I think that's where it's the same. Like you're making a conscious effort to focus in for that time. I make a conscious effort to show up, have a great attitude, and give my all in that time. What I'm saying? If I'm doing that, okay, if I'm working on this, I got to show up. I got to have a great attitude about it. I got to give my all about it. If I'm editing, if I'm doing the Success Chronicles stuff, I got to be present. I can't be doing all these other things. I have to, have a good time doing it. I got to give my all to it. And I think when you do those things, I've seen that when I've made a conscious effort to just do those things and just focus on that, I've really been proud of the outcomes that I've gotten from that because, here we go, formulas again, input equals output, right? What you put into something is what you're going to get out of it. And so if you put quality, if it's important to you to have a quality family time, well, they're going to give you that back because they know that you make sacrifices to make sure. They know how busy you are, but then you say, no, I'm not doing work. I'm hanging out with y'all, So what? But Dad, you got to no, I'm hanging out with y'all. Like that other stuff can stop, and so they see that and they're appreciative of that and they give that back to you.
Yeah,
Right.
and with your son, you're
Oh,
modeling the character that you expect out of him.
yeah.
So it's a win-win because it's part of who you are, and you're setting the example. And
Yes.
he's gonna learn to understand. Because I can tell you, in hindsight, I wish I understood systems better when I was younger, because I was kind of all over the place. So, at times I actually wonder if I was ADD. We didn't talk about that back then, right? I mean, that was not the conversation you really had, but my mind was all over the place, and I never was really focused. It was difficult to do homework. I couldn't sit still. Like I was a multitasker, horrible. And
Yeah.
even in college, you may spend 3 hours studying. It takes me 6 because I just learn at a slower rate. But as I got more into my professional life and realized the importance of systems and constructing them, and more important, like what can be, we weren't able to say this 20 years ago, but like what can be automated, what can be delegated, what can be hired out,
Yeah.
or what do I need to say no to? You start putting those things together, and okay, now you're tweaking the system, and it's a little bit different how you do things. But that saying no, I think, is a struggle. And it, we always talk, and you're an educator and you're a coach, and how many conversations have people had with you saying, I wish in high school they would teach certain things that are adaptable. And I really do think things like this are great projects and exercises and lessons for high school kids to understand the importance of things like this, because it's the rest of their life lessons. I know there's a curriculum and I know there's state-based testing, but could you imagine how you could have been in high school with the same mental attention that you give to certain things?
Yeah, I think that's the cool thing about it too. As far as me and my personal experience, the last few years in my coaching, uh, everybody has their rules, right? You know what my rules were? SHG.
And every class knew it.
Yeah, I mean, in my coaching, like my position guys, like, it's not, hey, be here, SHG, and it's simple because, like, for me, I'm striving to teach life lessons through sports, and that's really what it's all about. I want you to have that awareness, like, I want you to have that awareness before you get older that, hey, these experiences are going to shape and mold your life. And if you know that right now, then the way you approach those experiences will be a whole lot better, which in essence will make you a whole lot more advanced when you get older. Just
But
like you said.
but you've simplified it, right? I mean, if I'm one of your players or if I'm one of your students
Yeah,
and your philosophy is just SHG, it doesn't take long to learn. I know what the
simple.
expectations are. You know what the expectations are. So accountability is a breeze. Responsibility is a breeze. Sometimes we have people who overcomplicate the process, and you
Right.
never know if you're uh, black, gray, white. You don't know where you're in the line. What side are you on?
Yeah.
And then that's where you have problems, because some people get treated different. Whereas with yours,
I don't care
can't
who you
happen.
are. Yeah,
Exactly.
you're gonna SHG. I don't care who you are.
Yeah. It cannot happen. Absolutely. Well, let's take a break here and see if unmute.
One question I would like uh, to ask is, I know this is talking about a champion mindset. So you have your SHG, and we all know as being former athletes that you can show up and you can do something repetitiously every day.
Yeah.
What happens, or how do you take what you learn in sports and transfer that over into a career or into everyday life? Because I think, as you know, you look at ESPN every day and there's always somebody scrolling across the bottom of the screen because they made a bad choice, because nobody taught them how to transfer the skills that they learned being an athlete to carry over into their everyday life.
Man, that's a great question, Jamal, and I appreciate you asking that, because I think that it is transferable skills. And I think what I've tried to do in my life is provide a heightened awareness to the students, athletes, people that I'm around, that, um, you know, and you've heard this before, Dr. Reed says, no thing wasted. There's nothing wasted. So every experience you have, it relates to something you're going to grow through later. And so for me, I'm really glad you asked that question, because that's what I do on a daily basis. Like I relate everything to life. You think about it, as a student, whatever level you're on, whoever you are, however old you are, it don't matter. If you know that you're learning something and it's going to be relevant to you, you're going to pay attention. You know what I'm saying? Like, if it's something that people saying something and like, you're like, man, how can I apply that? That don't mean nothing. Like, we wasted our time, So, everything I do, I find life relevance, because it's about life, and every choice and decision that you make is really a life or death decision. If you think about it, and you have to be focused in to make sure you make good choices, good decisions.
And I'll just piggyback off that. And you hear from coaches so much. It's the little things. It's the little things. It's the little things. And I equate that as I speak to athletes. I'm like, you may think that it's 1% of the equation. Look, I'm going to give you material for your next book for the follow-up. You may think it's 1% of the equation, but it's just like pounding the stone. You don't know when that hit's going to just do what it needs to do and crumble the rock, right? And I see athletes with structure and discipline and with commitment. And if they can establish a core set of values and live with non-negotiables, that transfer from high school to college to a career to a marriage to a family,
yes,
it carries. And that's why I think, when I look at student athletes and I see what they have, I tell them all the time at the college level, I don't care if they're all American. Don't ever forget that it's a gift. And to play is a privilege, because the minute you lose the fact that it was something that's earned and you have to have pride in it, it no longer is serving its purpose. And that's why they tell you ego is the enemy, because the minute that ego steps in, you're done. And then that thing on the bottom, what you're talking about, Jamal, that little clicker on the bottom, that's where you see when ego becomes the enemy and they make the choices. And I mean, your story is phenomenal, and I'm not going to share it because next week we're going to talk, but that's where your gift, I think, really shines, is having athletes understand how quickly something can happen. Chip, he and I talked last night for a good hour, and I was mesmerized, just because there was humility and there was vulnerability in the story. Yeah. But God, the honesty. Like we laughed. What was it, Jamal? We were like, you got to Ball State, and 27 years later, you got your degree. You may want to call that a PhD or whatever. Right. Got my degree.
I got it. It took me 30 of them, but I got it.
But I mean, that's a story of perseverance. It's a story of grit. And although your journey was kind of riddled with different things, and especially as an athlete, a prominent elite athlete, you still found a way to bounce back. And I guarantee you there were some lessons in that came from your journey in athletics as much as anything else.
They did. But for me, it wasn't until I got older that I was even able to recognize it. Me and Chip talk about it, whenever we get into conversations, and I'm sure as we build our relationship, we'll do the same. But because I was in survival mode and I had to keep my head on the swivel, I didn't have time to stop, take a break, and say, wow, what I learned and my training and my disciplines over here on the court, man, I could easily carry this over to life, because I was too busy. And I won't even say I was living. I was existing, because I had no clue what was going on. And it wasn't until I got older that I was able to, one, slow down, because I think that's ultimately what gets us in trouble. My grandfather used to tell me all the time, son, you need to walk real slow and drink a lot of water. I used to be like, Granddaddy, what? Man, you wacky, man. Something wrong with you. And it wasn't until after he passed and I got older that I'm sitting up one night Star Trekking, and I'm like, oh, man, that's what he was talking about. Because when we move too fast, we miss stuff.
Yeah.
So when you slow down, you get to see all of the opportunities. You get to see the beauty of life. And then the drinking a lot of water was the health thing. You got to take care of yourself. So he blessed me with that. And like I said, it wasn't until I got older. There we go. It wasn't until I got older that I was able to kind of capture that and be able to utilize that. But like I said, man, some of us, we get so caught up in the rigmarole of life, going to work, and, you get on that hamster wheel, and then that becomes your norm. And so it's like, you know what, this is all it's going to be. And then you get into trouble, or you get into a rut, and that's hard to get out of if you don't have a strong support system, or you don't have people around you who love you enough to tell you, hey, man, you better than that.
Yeah.
Because that quicksand can be deep, and you don't even know it. You don't even know it.
I think that too, man, just hearing y'all talk about those things, I think I don't know. And one thing that really hits me is awareness. As I heard y'all say those stories, I think the ability to have awareness, I really think that's the secret sauce. The ability to be able to slow it down, the ability to have the awareness to know that my choices and my actions right now will determine what I will be later. And so really, I think, again, I think that's the secret sauce.
It's what we always say. The most important time is now.
Yeah.
They're like, when? Now.
Now.
Like right now. You
Right
can say
now.
that to yourself anytime during the day.
Yeah.
It's where your feet are. Right now is the most important time, because you have no clue what that lesson is right there in front of you.
Yeah.
And we become so focused on the outcome that we lose the joy of the journey, for starters. But within that process is where all the lessons are, especially failure. Like I encourage people, man, fail and fail again. Because if you're able to, at a young age, comprehend what's occurred and fix it or find solutions, the feeling of empowerment, it just makes you feel 10 times bigger. And the more you're able to do that, the more confidence you're able to develop, and you become invaluable.
Man, that process, I've lived that. Just hearing you say that, it gave me chills, because, you go from the process of just working hard, not really knowing if you're good enough, but you're just putting the work in, and then in that process, you learn so much about, the world, but more importantly, you learn so much about yourself, and that's what's most important. You learn those non-negotiables, you learn those things that you're willing to sacrifice, those things you're not willing to sacrifice, those things that you're willing to say no to, because that means that you're saying yes to what's important to those things. You learn those things. And so, like you said, you create a inner peace. You create an inner confidence, because you're firmly planted and know who you are without a shadow of a doubt. And so what that does is, I don't know, it allows you to just shine and come alive in your passion. And it's crazy how when you're in that lane, it's like it's lit, like for real lit. It's like that lane is like lit, like lighted up. When you're going down that path and you're in that lane, you're like, man, this is crazy. All of this amazing stuff is happening. But hey, been putting in work from a long time ago, being focused with my head down, with no distractions, with, all of those systems that I have in place. It's allowed me to just be razor sharp and hyper focused. And then, when you do get an opportunity to kind of take a deep breath, it helps you be proud of what you've accomplished.
You got to repeat it. Give me that inner peace quote.
Hey, man, inner peace allows us to enter peace, and so it's nothing better than knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt that, it is well with my soul, like the things that I've done, I haven't, tried to get over on anyone. I've just tried to work hard. I've just tried to treat people right. I've just tried to do things the right way. Of course, we all make mistakes. None of us are perfect, but it's in that effort, to trying where you learn, right? And so you gather that inner peace, and it allows you to be firm, deeply rooted, and allows you to enter peace in every situation you're in.
I so enjoyed that quote 2 weeks ago when you were doing that interview.
Yeah.
And I loved the fact, and everybody commented on it, when you were like, let me say it again.
Yeah.
And it was funny because in my head, I'm writing it down. I'm like, I want to hear that again. And it's like, I think Chip heard me, because you brought it back up again and talked about it.
Hey, we was having
so
church.
True.
I had to say it again. I was looking for an amen. Come on, brother.
Yeah, it was, but that was that moment, right?
Yes.
Sometimes it's easy to explain. It's just difficult to understand.
Yeah.
But I related to that. Like those words resonated. They gave me something to fall back on. And I think that's what everybody needs every once in a while.
Oh, no doubt about it. I mean, it's always good to hear a good word. And I think the beauty of, what we're doing here in the times, what we strive to do in our lives normally, as far as connecting and helping one another, I think it's great because it gives you an opportunity to learn so much. And I'm truly grateful for that. And you guys, everyone.
Isn't that the truth? When we talk about gratitude, like these are the moments that you take a step, and the goal is to keep climbing that ladder, but emotionally and spiritually and all those important assets that we have, man, they come from communication and learning and listening and hearing people's stories and just better understanding life. Because we grow up assuming that our journey is the only journey and everybody takes it. And then as you get a little bit older, you realize everybody's different. And then as you get to be older, where we are, you realize there's beauty in the uniqueness of everybody's story. So it's almost a maturation of understanding what that process is, what that system is.
Yeah. And I go back to the awareness piece, and I'll just tell you, like, as I heard you say that, it made me think of how I was raised, and where I was raised. I was raised in a small town, and everybody got along with everybody. So I don't care color, race, socio, none of that mattered. Especially the people that you on teams with. You're my brother. I don't care about none of that other stuff. And so I think that has really helped me in my life because I don't see any of that other stuff. I just strive to give love. I don't care who you are. Like, if you good people, you good people. If you are doing, things to help, you're doing things to help. And so, I think it's, we can't get caught up in the other. We just really got to just focus in on the gratitude, the love, the service, all of those things. And it's great to have that system of awareness. I think just practice being having awareness and realizing in every situation that we're in what you're grateful for. I think that helps us grow in every way. I mean, of course, life is hard.
Yeah.
Like life is like truly difficult, but we go through some tough things, but we always have to make sure that we find the good in it. Because when we focus on the good, all the bad goes away. And before you know it, like you're on the other side of it. Like it'll happen, like, man, and then you'll be able to reflect and find all of those blessings in the lessons,
Absolutely.
And then now look how much better you are to help others because you've grown through those things.
To me, gratitude it becomes my oxygen. It gives me the most perspective of anything else in life. When I can focus on what I'm grateful for, and even if it's for 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 2 minutes, whatever it may be, for some reason those are the most special moments for me, because you realize, A, we get one shot at this thing, B, life is short, and C, how you making an impact. What are you doing to create that legacy? And I'm all about that. What are you going to leave behind? And with two girls, I want to leave everything behind I have, and never, ever, ever use that word regret. Ever.
Ever.
Yeah, because that's my control.
Not going to use it.
No.
Like that's a non-go. I'm not going to have any regrets, man. Don't have any problem sleeping because I'm tired every day. I'm all in on everything.
For the right reasons.
For the right reasons. And so I think when you do those things, it allows you to be truly proud of the things that you're doing even if, like, say you set a goal or something and you don't quite get to where you are wanting to be with that goal, but with, like I said earlier, within the effort to get there is where the beauty is. Like, in getting those reps to get there, because reps make you better, you get better.
Yeah. And you appreciate the steps, you appreciate the process.
Oh, man, and then when people that come along and you see them going through those steps, you see like, oh yeah, you got, like you talked about, Nicole. Oh yeah. Uh-huh.
Well, Chip, I want to sincerely thank you. You and I do this probably once or twice a month, and I don't care if there's 1, 2, or 185 people. I don't care, because I'm growing, I'm better, and you make me better. And you hooked me up and got a phone call with Jamal yesterday, and that's what it's all about. Is listening to him. I can't wait for next week, because I know I'm going to grow. I really do. I tell you guys, y'all have got to go to YouTube at the Success Chronicles and just go see some of the stuff that Chip has done. How many episodes do you have, Chip?
Oh, about 180.
Yeah, he didn't just start last week, but
yeah.
There's so many specific lessons and areas of improvement in your life. It's fun because when I go, I don't watch them in order. Like, I love to just kind of sift through, and I'm in the mood for this today, or I need this today. Yeah. And that's a great thing. But go check it out on YouTube with Chip Baker TSC, the Success Chronicles. Follow all over social media. Just go to my social media. You see them every time. Just click on it, and you can do the same. But I want to thank everybody for joining us. I hope.
Well, thank you so much, guys. This is what I needed today. I needed to hear the time-based system today, actually. So this was perfect.
Awesome.
Now, Chip, so Jennifer and I have been friends for
exactly.
We about 8 years, Jennifer, we've known each other?
Let's see. Nicole is, roughly
8 years. And tell these fine gentlemen how many kids you get to corral every single day. How many beautiful
right now,
kids?
With Nicole home, 5 girls. The youngest being 5 and the oldest in the house being 18.
That's awesome.
And I got to tell y'all, and I told this again to her yesterday, she's one of the most involved parents that I've ever known. And she, just the nurturing and the love and the trust. But her kids, it doesn't matter what you see. When you see a kid's eyes, you can see pure joy. Like, man, every time I see a picture, all I see is pure joy. And I tell Jennifer all the time, I'm like, you are an amazing mother.
Yeah. Well,
you're good people.
I want to say thanks to you, Vic, for having a platform and for doing it and for giving me the opportunity to come on and just, talk life and success. I think, and thank you guys for taking the time, because I know your time is valuable and limited. And a lot of time, like I said earlier, what we put into something is what we get out of it. My goal is to give you lots, and I hope that I've given you lots. Yeah, I hope that I've given you lots. I tried to bring you my A game, and every opportunity I get. And so, man, bless you guys, and thanks so much for the opportunity.
And that's a perfect way to end it. Everybody have a great night. Hey, Chip, don't forget, charge up.
Go get it.
Go get it. You guys have a great night. Thank you.
All right.